It's early evening and the light is fading quickly. This is my first long form unscripted video. I decided that I was going to talk about who I am and why I'm doing this. I started watching Glow's videos maybe a week ago. No, probably not even a week ago. I felt like it was on a Sunday, and today's Wednesday. Okay, I just don't know when it was, but I started and I noticed that she was talking about posting every day for a year. And the idea fills my heart with trepidation and angst, but I'm also really curious about it. I don't see what I'm going to get out of it. Haven't watched enough of her videos to actually know, um, but I'm starting to get an idea about it. And today, just before I did this, I was watching someone else's video about posting every week long form videos and the effect on their monetization, I suppose, which I assume is what this is about. It's about monetization. And so I look at what Glow does, and what appealed to me about it is that she reminds me of a friend that I have here from Ghana. And it is someone who also goes to church, has that vibe that I miss so much from home. And I realize in this world of racism that I've been experiencing a lot of in Europe, it's really nice to hear a voice from home that's relatable. I grew up in the Midwest in Missouri, in a small town in Missouri where you could probably say we were the only black family out of the 972 people who were resident when I was a child. That number fluctuates over the last 5+ decades, but it stays somewhere around there. And I come from a religious family like Glow's, and I appreciate that sentiment. I really miss Black Americans. And I've been watching Altered Carbon again with my partner, and we're in the second season now. And there's this character who's just a wonderful black chick. And she's a black chick like my sisters are black chicks from California with that same kind of vibe and steadiness and all those things that when I'm homesick, I really miss from home. This, yeah, it's just a black girl thing. And so when I saw Glow's video talking about, I guess, something in Bali, I was like, oh, that voice, that style. It's almost evangelical, but it's not. It's just presence. So I grew up going to church Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes a couple of times on Sunday. I grew up in the Southern Baptist faith. Um, and I grew up in a small church on the top of a hill by the side of the road. I think lyrics in hymnals such as that, on a hill far away stood an old wooden cross. You can always find a hill. You can always find a cross. So it's it's relatable. It's the poetry of relatability. I guess that's why I decided, okay, I'll do this. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what I'm going to do it about, how it relates to my work and the type of videos that I've been making to disseminate my research work. But this church was on the grounds of a former plantation. And there are bodies that were enslaved resting just alongside us as you walk up the ramp into the pulpit area of the church. And I am at odds with that, even though I have a Master of Philosophy and Theology. It's not in Christianity. If anything, my Master of Philosophy is about the space that I can occupy in the Western world in resistance, perhaps, of white facing Western Christianity. But that church and that pivotal religious experience and my upbringing in that, it formed me and shaped me. So you could say that I'm cosmetically Christian, but fundamentally I'm a Black chick who grew up in the church, and that means something. So when I listen to Glow, it's like, yeah, I could sit down in that conversation at any point, feel perfectly at home. And watching those videos helps with my homesickness and my sense of isolation, and also the validation of how racist it is here. Glow was talking about Europe in one of her videos, and I was thinking, oh yeah, she nailed that country. I've lived there. Yeah, that's exactly what you can expect. And the racism that and the situation in America and leaving it is something that I did decades ago. But I did it without someone like Glow, and I did it with two small children on my back. And that's quite a journey. But when I think about those things that you get out of growing up in the church, like Saturday, we had Usher's rehearsal, I guess you could say. And it's an interesting thing because being an usher is about opening a door, guiding people to seating, and then going back to your position. It's something that really shapes you. Like in a theater, you see ushers, and in a church, you see ushers. Maybe not now, maybe not so much in the mega churches. I've been to a mega church, a couple of mega churches in Texas when I've been visiting because my family's into them now. So when I go home, I love going to church. I love being surrounded by Black people. I love I love how Black people appreciate me in ways that I could exhaust myself and spend the rest of my life trying to explain to white Europeans what you get out of that. But standing on a door, knowing when to open it, and the signals that you give to one another, it's a very disciplined way of being. And so I was an usher. I definitely don't recall saying, hey, mama, I want to be an usher. That was definitely a decision that was probably made for me by my parents. But it's a good decision. I have some friends in San Francisco, a lesbian couple, and they take their kids to church. And the reason they take their kids to church is to teach them how to sit still. And well done. I mean, they also have spiritual values, but they don't necessarily have for that religion. But it's such a wonderful thing, that kind of discipline and structure that you get by having elders and by having people that you call Mother Kathy, um, who I have no idea how old that woman was. She was one of the sick and shut-ins that we would go visiting. And so Mama was an usher and she taught Sunday school, and Daddy was a deacon. And we had Bible study at home as a family. We also had my parents went to a prayer meeting on Wednesdays, which I went sometimes, and then there was youth group on Thursdays, and then there was something else on Tuesdays. Can't quite remember. I'll have to ask some friends. But it it's community. It's real life community. That's what I miss about church culture, and I love this thing of in most services. I don't know if it's just a southern thing, but you have some point in the service where you turn to the person next to you, in front of you, perpendicular to you, and you greet them and you welcome them. And it's so beautiful. It's such a nice feeling. And here where I am, individualism is king. It's um, it's kind of that sad situation that has resulted from going from authoritarianism in a slight rule to anarchy, which is just interpreted as individualism, because anarchy is quite a discipline. Individualism, it doesn't require so much discipline, it requires the rejection of disciplines. So, explaining to someone that you have to stand and be uncomfortable throughout the majority of the church service. Why? It's like explaining to that family on the third floor that they should tell their children to shut up when they're running up and down the stairs. Not because people are necessarily sleeping, I'm awake when that's happening, but just out of respect, decorum, and control. Just the idea of having personal control. And so, under this kind of individualism that I'm always at war with, apparently, the idea of being beholden to the rhythm of a church service is something that is hard to explain here, just as it's hard to explain things like pushing past your limits. And that is not something that one brings upon oneself, but something that one has to do because one is disadvantaged. I can be quite tired. I can be quite worn. I keep going back to that spiritual, that hymnal. And I still have to do what I have to do. It doesn't matter. It's like learning what our disorders are, like learning that I have PTSD. That's great. I still have to learn how to function in the world with it. And that's a different mindset to some of the individualism that I'm confronting and trying to live amongst in the subculture group to which I can be categorized into. So I'm shocked that I've been talking for this long. It's past the goal that I made for myself for starting. I hear Blue talk a lot about how in the beginning it was like bedtime, past bedtime, she had to get up and record a video. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I refuse to do that. And so this morning I was gonna make my first video, but I couldn't sleep last night. I have a sleep disorder, and sometimes I have waking REM, and there's consequences to it. But the best thing to do in those situations for me, from what I've learned from neurologists, is like there's a very short window of time where you're going to go back to sleep, and the mind starts doing things that are very unhelpful. Things happen. A lot of unhelpful thoughts happen. So in those situations, I get up and I work on writing my fears and resentments and I meditate. So today this happened at 5, which on some levels is great. I'm a morning person. I'm an Aries born at 5:54 a.m., so I think there's something special about that hour of the day. And I love the feeling of waking up and it's dark outside and getting through like certain processes like my morning meditation and my yoga and my breath work. And then I get to see the sun come up. I get to see the light come up. And I've basically gone through this process of working with my shadows and waking up in the dark, which is like such a deep metaphor. Waking up in the dark and working towards the light. And then when the light appears, I'm in a place that I'm ready for it and I've got to adjust slowly to light coming in rather than when I wake up and it's light outside already, I feel a little anxious of like, oh my God, I got so much to do. And then it's harder to do my yoga and my meditation and my daily practice, the writing fears and resentments and then meditating to release them. So today that happened at 5. I was aware of every noise in the building and hypervigilance set in, and it was not helpful, the thoughts that were coming. So it was like, okay, I'm trying a variation of 75 harder. I wouldn't even say it's the 45 harder. It's more of yesterday I worked out twice, like once for an hour and once for 45 minutes later. And because it's -6 outside, and I have to be careful about my repaired meniscus tears. And my physiotherapist is like, nope, nope, it's not for you outside in this weather. Um, I have to do it differently, and I just accept that. And I also accept that I don't necessarily want to do that strictly. I get outside a lot, so but right now it's too cold. It's cruelly cold. It's repressively cold. So I went to the gym last night. I got on the rowing machine and I did weights. And so this morning at 5, I did my stuff and I was in the gym by 6:37 and I worked out and my whole body was like so afterwards. And I knew I was going to be going to sleep. So I had a ton of protein. I had a huge protein meal. And then I just let sleep take me. So that meant that I didn't took a really long nap, like 3 hours, maybe almost 4. And that gets us to now where it's almost dark outside and I have the camera at an angle where we can like see the chin stuff and all the wrinkles and it's like, ugh, but whatever. It's my first video and this is the face that I was born with. It's the face that I'm aging with. It's the face that I have. And it's nothing but an accomplishment to have made this first video. It feels pretty good. So thank you for listening. I'm Chandra.